Freeze! Who are you? What are you doing here?
Hold your fire. I'm here to talk about game demos.
Sorry about that. I thought you were one of them.
What's going on in this industry?
Hold on. I don't have a clue.
By the time I noticed all the game demos were gone, the entire industry was infested with games that didn't have demos. I don't know about you guys, but I love me a really good game demo. Whether it's the latest demo on the digital store or one that came with your monthly magazine. There's nothing quite like getting a sneak peek at a game you're really looking forward to. Or even better is when you find a game that wasn't even on your radar to begin with, and then you find yourself blown away. Discovering new games can be one of the most exciting feelings any gamer can get. And when you can do it for free with a demo, it's even better. Over the past 2 months, I've played over 350 demos. It was a lot. I had to put every single game that I was playing in 2024, like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Stellar Blade, Dragon's Dogma I started. All those I put on the side just for this project because the Xbox 360 store is closing down soon and there was quite a bit on there that I wanted to try out. That's kind of the motivation for this video. I want to tell you where I downloaded and played all these demos just so you get an idea of where I'm coming from. I've downloaded demos for my PS3, PS4, PS5, Xbox 360, Nintendo Switch, Steam, and a bunch of demo discs I've collected over the years. But I also wanted to talk about game demos because I feel like over the past year or so, I've played so many good game demos. It was the month of June and I had just played 2 of the best game demos I think I've ever played, in Liza P and Final Fantasy 16. And then 1 year later in 2024, we've gotten a bunch of awesome demos already. In February and March, we got 2 Final Fantasy VII Rebirth demos, and then a Stellar Blade demo. Psychodemic was a really cool demo I tried out. It's like you play as a detective and you're using surveillance footage, but the surveillance footage uses real life footage. It's really cool. I thought it was like probably one of the most unique games I had played in a while. So I'm definitely going to get that when it comes out. And an indie game called Howl. Howl was a really cool turn-based game where you basically have to plot out your moves and account for where the wolves are going to move, and you have to take them out before they get to you. It has great music too. And the latest demo I definitely want to talk about is for an upcoming World War I survival horror game called Conscript. It has a camera perspective like the old Metal Gear games, and I gotta say after playing it, I'm buying this game day one. It is one of my most anticipated games now. The gameplay is challenging, and the item management was really satisfying, and also the music and audio are so good in this game. I'm not saying it's like Darkwood, but it gave me Darkwood vibes. And that's the best part of game demos. You're always going to discover games you never heard about before. Now for Liza P, why was it one of my favorite demos of all time? It's because when I was playing it last year, I just found myself blown away by the amount of content that they offered. It went on for so long that I thought I had got some bugged out version of the demo, like it had unlocked the full game or something. And when I look back at the Final Fantasy 16 demo last year, I just remember loving it because it gave you such an amazing story right off the bat. And it was just the beginning of the game. It was so enjoyable that even my wife ended up watching the whole thing. It was like we watched a movie together. So throughout the past couple months, I pulled out every game demo disc I've ever owned just to try them out, replay them, get the footage. Because the first times around, I definitely did not capture the footage. I didn't even get my recording device up until 2020 when I started the channel, so I'll definitely cover a few of them here in a little bit. But I also got a bunch of PS2 ones, and there's one more, but I'll save it for in a minute. So let's start with the PS2 demo disc. I have Resident Evil 4 demo disc,
Resident Evil 4.
This lets you play through the initial village level, and after Leon beats the mob and delivers his bingo line, it sends you back to the menu, and then that's that demo.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
Then they have God of War 1. This is the initial Hydra battle, so on the ship when you start the game. then God of War 2. I haven't played God of War 2 in a while, so I can't remember if that's the very first of the game, but that's the Colossus battle. And then I really like this one, Shadow of the Colossus. That's the beginning of the game and you get to defeat the first boss. Gets you in the feels immediately after beating that boss. And then this one's an interesting one because I've never played this game. This is called Rogue Galaxy. And the reason I bought this is because I saw, I think it was Metal Jesus' video, and from a long time ago, and he had suggested an RPG called Rogue Galaxy. And I thought the cover with the ship and the planet looked so cool. And instead of buying the game, I bought the demo disc for $3.99 and basically treated it as a demo rental disc. I don't know if anybody else does that, but I thought that was a good idea. And then this last PS2 one I don't have the cardboard slipcover like the other ones, but I have it in a case. The Metal Gear Solid 2 Trial Demo Disc. And this is when they let you play through the ship at the beginning of the game as Snake. Definitely awesome. I remember, I thought it was pretty cool going back and playing that one because the game still looks amazing. Like there was a part when you're in the ship and the ground has like reflections, like ray tracing style. It looks so good. Now for that one PS1 demo disc that I was talking about, it's a demo disc I found on eBay. It was like $13.99 or $15, something like that. But it's a Pizza Hut demo disc. It has 5 games on it. Here's the back. But the one I want to talk about is Metal Gear Solid. Wow. This demo, over the past 2 months, out of the 300 and some demos, it might be up there for my favorite demo I played. Sets up the story amazingly, has a great cliffhanger, and probably the only place you'll be able to see "To Be Continued" in the Metal Gear Solid animation style. When it comes to the Xbox demo discs that I got with the magazines, these are the ones I have. If anyone wants to check them out. But first one is, I really have good memories of The Bourne Conspiracy. The thing I love about this game is just the over-the-top action. The sound effects and the camera work when you're punching and kicking enemies. It really makes you feel like a badass.
Target acquired. Lining up the shot.
I actually have never played Stranglehold. But man, I went out and bought that game immediately after playing this demo. There's like a slow-mo mechanic in the game where you're like dodging the bullets back and forth. It's so awesome. I can't wait to actually play that to completion. This one of the first Xbox 360 games I ever played was King Kong. It lets you fight as King Kong against like a bunch of big dinosaurs, and then there's a section where you're just like fighting a T-Rex. Really cool demo. Then we have Indigo Prophecy, which is one of Quantic Dream's first games. Whenever game demos are brought up, this is a demo that always comes to mind. It has one of the best intros to a game I've ever played. You find yourself in a diner bathroom alongside a body and blood all over yourself. And suddenly the game starts showing this split screen perspective with a cop entering the diner, and now you gotta figure out how to get out without being caught.
Quick. I've got to get out of here before somebody comes in here.
There's this game called Turning Point Fall of Liberty, and online it has awful reviews. But when I played the demo, I actually liked it quite a bit. It reminded me of the new Wolfenstein games. It's like an alternate story or universe where the Nazis are like invading America, and you can kind of see the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, the Statue of Liberty is being taken down. Blimps and everything are attacking, and you're like just trying to get down and fight. I thought it was pretty damn good. I went and bought that game too, and I'm gonna end up playing that. And then my favorite one by far is Dead Rising. When I played this back in the day, instantly bought the game, and it actually became one of my favorite games of all time. Was actually my favorite game of all time for a long time, until Alan Wake came, and then that kind of dethroned it, but it's still probably in my top 10 games ever. Well, the full game lets you do a lot more in terms of content. Like the shops don't have a lot of the costumes available in this demo. This demo lets you just beat the shit out of zombies for as long as you want, until you go outside. That's when the demo ends. And while we're on the topic of Dead Rising and demos, I want to talk about Dead Rising Case Zero. This isn't technically a demo, but it kind of felt like it. It was a paid DLC campaign for $4.99 that would release before the main game of Dead Rising 2. It was a 2 to 3 hour campaign surrounding the events of Chuck and Katie before they reach Las Vegas. They find themselves at a gas station of a small town called Still Creek when their vehicle suddenly gets hijacked.
Son of a bitch!
And now Chuck must scour the town and build himself a new bike. I love this DLC because it was the perfect selling point for the main game. You got to try out the new crafting mechanics and the combo weapons. You could also save up to 10 survivors in this DLC, and you even got to fight a psychopath. I still go back and play this DLC from time to time because it's actually pretty damn good, and your progress actually carries over to the main game as well. I'm pretty surprised that more companies haven't used this prequel DLC strategy. You get to make a profit and promote your game at the same time. And I can't tell you how excited I am for the Dead Rising remaster that just got announced coming in September. The voice actor has been changed, which is probably my only reservation I have so far, because everything else looks amazing. I also really appreciate that they made quality of life improvements, like allowing Frank to move while he's shooting. The shooting in the original Dead Rising was not the greatest, but it didn't detract from the game overall. I really hope they've given this game the same love and treatment they give the Resident Evil remakes, because if they do, this will be one of the best games of the year.
A customer!
Throughout the years, one of the demos that had the biggest impact on me personally was the Final Fantasy VII Remake demo. This was back in 2020, and in this demo they let you play through the first chapter of the game and lets you fight the first big robot scorpion boss. And after playing that demo, it fully convinced me, a person that before wouldn't give one damn about Final Fantasy. It became my favorite game of 2020. And since then, I became one of the biggest Final Fantasy fans. I mean, obviously not as big as longtime fans, but you know, I love it. I love it now. And that's the power of the game demo, to attract new fans that maybe were on the fence the whole time. My cousin had been talking to me about Final Fantasy for like 20 years. Every time we'd be at a party, we'd be drinking, and he'd be telling me all kinds of stories. And I'm pretty sure he spoiled the whole story for me, but I don't remember back then. So when I played it, every time we talk about it, I'm like, dude, thank you. Thank you so much for introducing me to this game, because I love Final Fantasy now. Next demo I want to talk about is actually another game with a 7 in it, and that is Resident Evil 7, the Beginning Hour demo, which is easily one of the most infamous demos in this video. This was announced during Sony's 2016 E3 press conference, which is still easily the best gaming press conference I've ever watched. And on top of that, Resident Evil 7 got a demo announced, and you could play it that night. At the time, I didn't realize how important this demo would become, because after the mixed reception of Resident Evil 6 and it being super action focused, Capcom was looking to go back to its horror roots. Gone was the over-the-top action of 6, and welcome to a brand new camera perspective. In the 25-year history of Resident Evil, this was the first time Resident Evil would use the first-person camera perspective. In this demo, we got to explore the Baker Mansion, and our one goal is just to escape the house. The demo is super simple and only about 10 or 15 minutes long, but if you want to unlock the 4 different endings, you can spend up to an hour playing it, which is really cool having so many endings in just a demo. And I will say, out of all game companies, I think Capcom has done the best when it comes to game demos. They offer demos for almost all of their games. Games like Monster Hunter, Lost Planet, Dead Rising, Street Fighter, Devil May Cry, Mega Man, Dino Crisis, and of course the Resident Evil series. Even in the late 90s, Capcom was including extra demo disc within their game cases. If you got the Resident Evil Director's Cut, not this one specifically, you had to get the one with the Chris on the front, you got a Resident Evil 2 demo disc. I made the mistake of buying this one, so I actually had to go buy the demo disc separately. Let me show you. Maybe I'll get the Chris edition sometime, but this is the Resident Evil 2 demo disc. One thing I will say about these older Resident Evil demos is they don't let you use the typewriter at all. So it actually added this extra layer of tension not being able to save. I actually kind of liked it. In the Resident Evil 2 demo, they actually tease you at the very end of it when you beat it with Ada Wong's hips. And then they blue balls you and just cut it off. It's actually pretty funny. Then if you got Resident Evil 3, it came with a Dino Crisis demo disc. It's actually in a hidden compartment. The Dino Crisis demo disc. I thought that was so cool. And then if you bought Dino Crisis, you got the Resident Evil 3 demo disc. And same thing, it's kind of hidden. I've never seen 2 other games that cross promote like that, especially with disc. I mean, you won't get that anymore, but can you guys think of any other, give me an example if there's another set of games that do that, but it's like these 2 are married. I will say 30 years later, when I pull out a game and it has a demo disc as the second disc instead of like a soundtrack or something, it's so much cooler. But sadly, demo disc would come to an end and the digital age was upon us. And I'm pretty sure this might be their last demo disc they ever released. There was a GameCube trial disc. I don't have a GameCube, but that one came before this one. So this might actually be the last demo disc that Capcom released. So in 2009, Capcom would start releasing their demos digitally with the Resident Evil 5 demo, which came out on Xbox Live and the PSN store in 2009. And ever since then, every mainline game for Resident Evil has had a demo to try out. Hell, Resident Evil Village has 3 demos. If you look on the PlayStation Store, there's a visual demo called Maiden, which came out before release, another gameplay demo that came out with the Gold Edition, and in this demo, they actually let you play third person for the first time. They added the third person mode. And the third demo was actually a VR mode demo, which I haven't played that one. Now I want to go back 2 more years before Resident Evil 7 was even announced, to what probably inspired Resident Evil 7, and one of the most influential demos, if not the most influential demo of all time. It was a playable teaser on the PS4 called PT. This was a first-person psychological horror game that was being described as the world's first interactive teaser. In the trailer for this demo, we would see a mysterious man walking down a street, a paper bag that talked, and a set of creepy hallways. Then the trailer ended with a set of reactions from people playing the game, and they looked pretty damn terrified. It was probably just actors, but It was amazing marketing. The first time playing this demo is an experience I'll never forget. It's such a simple concept too. It's just you walking down a set of hallways over and over, but the atmosphere is so intense. Just the phone ringing felt so creepy, and the radio announcer talking about a local murder case.
Went to the trunk of his car, retrieved the rifle, and shot his wife as she was cleaning up the kitchen after lunch.
PT is one of those games that everybody needs to try at least once. Go to your friend's house that has a PS4 with it on it. Anything. All you gotta do is walk down the hallway just a couple times and you'll understand what the hype is. But the biggest surprise for PT wasn't even how good the game was. It was what happened when you finally beat it. Not long after release, people started figuring out how to actually get to the end of it, which ended up unlocking a trailer for a new game called Silent Hills, which would be the next game in the Silent Hill franchise. And it was going to be developed by Metal Gear Solid creator Hideo Kojima and one of Hollywood's biggest directors, Guillermo del Toro. And as of 2024, it's been 10 years since PT released, and it's still one of the most influential games ever, and it's just a demo. Sadly, the story for PT didn't end the way we all wanted, because Konami would have some weird dramatic breakup with Kojima, and because of that, Silent Hills was canceled, and Konami would completely delist PT from the PSN store in April 2015. So unless you already downloaded PT onto your hard drive, you couldn't download it anymore, even if you had the digital license for the game. I brought it here for this video. I still have my hard drive with PT on it, and it feels like a block of gold because of it. I'll never get rid of this, and I'll never get rid of my PS4 because of that too. The PS4 might have had the most influential demo ever created, but I think my love for demos truly took off during the PlayStation 3. That's when I discovered that you could download as many demos as you wanted on the PSN store. It felt so fresh and new and exciting. It was like I was renting these games. It was so cool. I love that I can go back to my PlayStation account and I can see my download history. So let's take a look at my first downloads ever on my PS3. This was in late 2006, and the first 6 things I downloaded on my PS3 was a bunch of demos. And the first one I got was MotorStorm. It's funny replaying this demo again, because at the time, these graphics felt so realistic. Not quite as impressive today, but they still look pretty good. But I just remember thinking, wow, this is like the next thing. It actually was pretty damn hard too. I'm replaying this demo and I can't even stay on the track. Then if we go up the download list, we have Resistance Fall of Man, Heavenly Sword, Grid, Super Stardust HD, which was a really fun arcade shooter, really good gameplay, and the controls felt great. This was actually one of Housemarque's first games, the guys that made Returnal, so pretty cool looking back at that. Then there's Civilization Revolution. I think this might have been the first time we got a Civilization game on console. I'm pretty sure this was the first one. It was kind of like a dumbed down version of the PC Civilization games, but it was pretty fun. Then we have the Heavy Rain demo. Oh man, that was probably my favorite demo at the time. You get to play through the alley section where it kind of teaches you the controls, and then you can play through the Norman Jaden rain scene and then the Scott Shelby fight scene, which ended up being 2 of the best scenes in the game. Next we have the God of War 3 2009 E3 demo. It starts you off with the traditional angry Kratos staring at you at the title screen, and for the next 30 minutes, you're presented with probably the best graphics we had ever seen at the time. Even today, if you play this game on a modern 4K TV, it still looks just as good as any new game today. It truly stands the test of time. In the demo, you're fighting your way up this mountain through a ton of enemies, and by the end, you reach your final destination, the Titan of Destruction himself, Perseus. Then there's the Little Big Planet 2 demo.
They call it Little Big Planet.
Costume Quest, which is an awesome Halloween game if you've never played that. Journey, amazing game. I think most people know about that one. Unfinished Swan, I feel like that's kind of a hidden gem nowadays. Like one of the best art styles ever. Everything is white and you're just like throwing around black paint. I love that game.
Hey!
Sound Shapes it's like a platformer and you go through the levels to music. Really cool game. Papa and Yo was such a good game, man. Possibly my favorite PSN game back in that era. Really cool puzzle game. A lot of these puzzles, the graphics aren't that great anymore, but the puzzles are pretty mind-blowing. There's like this section where you're like bending buildings and moving them around. I love that game. Good ending and story too. Then there's Little Fat Princess, which was a funny multiplayer game where you had to feed your princess cake and make her fat, because it would make her heavier and make it more difficult for the other team to like pick her up and capture her. The only downside to that game I remember was the matches could go on for like 45 minutes. It was fun, but yeah, the matches went on way too long. Also Flower, which was probably my favorite game from that game company. I'd probably give it the edge over Journey. It's probably close, but I really love Flower. And that was my first That Game Company game that I played, so I give that one the edge. And the last two items I want to cover in this list is the Uncharted multiplayer betas. I remember being so excited for Uncharted multiplayer because when we got Uncharted 1, awesome game, but the one downside was it didn't have multiplayer. And Gears of War was easily my favorite multiplayer back then. I love the third-person cover mechanic, and multiplayer with that is amazing. And I just always fantasized Uncharted having multiplayer too. So when Uncharted 2 came out, we finally got multiplayer. And it came with a beta. And the beta, let me grab it, came inside of Infamous. Which was good for me because I was already buying Infamous. The Uncharted multiplayer beta voucher. So that was really fun. But also, the Uncharted 3 multiplayer beta came in Infamous 2, which I was also buying. So I just basically got that for free. There's the Uncharted 3 beta. And then I don't have it. I think I might have traded it in or something. But Uncharted, the Nathan Drake collection came with Uncharted 4 and multiplayer beta, which I also played a lot of. I don't like them quite as much as Gears of War multiplayer, but they're close. And then when Last of Us came out, of course, that's probably my favorite Naughty Dog multiplayer. And on that subject, Last of Us. Do you guys remember the Last of Us demo that came with God of War Ascension? There it is. It actually was on the disc. I put the disc in to see if I could boot it up, but it just glitches out, unfortunately. Kind of sad that they kind of time those out. By now, pretty much every multiplayer has had a beta at some point, but my all-time favorite multiplayer betas have got to be Gears of War. I played It's got to be like hundreds of hours in all of those betas combined. And I remember me and my family would play it up until like the final date, until like the crack of dawn when they'd shut off the servers. And I'd get like one last game in, and then it'd shut or like close me off. And I just get that instant feeling of depression. Like, oh man, I was having so much fun. And I know the game is like months away. Such good times, but I remember those moments being like kind of sad for a day or two, knowing I couldn't play it that next night. But yeah, I love Gears of War multiplayer. I can't wait for Gears of War 6. Hopefully they take the multiplayer back to the way it was, at least in 4. I love 4's multiplayer, but 5 wasn't as good to me. Just for this project alone, I've wishlisted and bought almost 100 games. I've added so many games to my PlayStation 5 wishlist that it wouldn't even let me add anymore. I had to start deleting some. But just for an example, I brought some games of demos that I played throughout this whole video project, and these are ones I've bought. This first game is called Siberia: The World Before. This is a very Detroit Become Human, Quantic Dream style Walking Dead, where you walk around and you investigate things, and it has a really good story. Really enjoyed that, so I was like, hell yeah, I'm all in on that. On one of the Xbox demo disc was a survival horror game called The Suffering: Ties That Bind. While most of the original Xbox demos on those discs kind of suck, this one stood out to me. I actually really like this quite a bit. So I picked that up on eBay. This next one, I played both the Darkness and the Darkness 2 demos. Didn't actually play these back in the day, but I thought the story in the Darkness 2 demo was really good. So I got that. This next one is a racing game. I love Blur. I talk about that quite a bit on this channel, but I'm always looking for a similar game. This one is a car combat game, racing game called Full Auto. Really cool game. Really fun. I thought the driving was good. The explosions of people while you're racing was good. And, this last one. Tandem, A Tale of Two Shadows. Sorry if it glares because I haven't unpacked it, but it's a puzzle game where you're like, the bear is in one dimension and the girl's in another, and you're solving puzzles based on light. And I love games with light, you know? Link to the Light, Alan Wake. So I had to pick that one up. And a couple other demos I would hate if I didn't mention is the Stanley Parable demo and the Mafia 3 demo. Stanley Parable probably has the most unique demo I've ever played.
This is where I and the other proctors have been working meticulously to construct a demo that explains clearly and concisely exactly what the Stanley Parable is, how it plays, and why you should spend real-world money on the main game.
It fully embraces you being inside a demo. It's like breaking the fourth wall the whole time. It just talks about how demos are made and you're inside this demo and demos written all over the place. It makes demo jokes throughout the whole thing. It even has pictures on the wall of other famous game demos in its game demo. It's pretty damn funny. You might recognize one here. It's the Metal Gear Solid 2 demo I talked about earlier. And Mafia 3 is a demo I still remember to this day. It lets you play through the first couple hours of the game, and it has one of the best cliffhangers of any demo I've ever played. I've never went out and bought a game so quickly after playing a demo in my life. That's how good the ending of that demo was. And now I want to talk about my most cherished demo experience I've ever had. Back in 2017, me and my wife went on a honeymoon. We actually went to E3 for our honeymoon. And during this E3, we got to try out a bunch of game demos like Sea of Thieves, Crackdown 3, The Artful Escape, Super Mario Odyssey. But my absolute favorite while we were there was Detroit Become Human. This was called the Hostage demo. And while you played this demo, they had these android actors standing around you while you played. It was pretty funny. And luckily my wife got some pictures of them around me. But I've always been a big Quantic Dream fan, and I couldn't wait to play this demo. It's still available on the PS4. I played it again just for the footage of this, and I gotta say, Detroit Become Human still looks possibly better than any new game that came out in the last few years. Like, how does a PS4 game still look so damn good? I never thought that they would be able to top Heavy Rain, but when they put out Detroit Become Human, I think it's like at least right up there with it, if not a little bit better, especially since Connor is one of the best video game characters ever. I love his character so much.
Hi, Daniel. My name is Connor. How do you know my name? I know a lot of things about you. I've come to get you out of this.
And that's why I love demos. Like, I love going on the PSN store or Steam, Nintendo eShop, and just finding demos for games that maybe I'm not willing to pay for yet and try them out. And then when they blow me away, I found a new game to play. And with trust in game journalists not being as high as it used to be, I can't remember the last time I cared what a game journalist said about a game. They hated Callisto Protocol. I love Callisto Protocol. They hated Evil Within. I loved Evil Within. Like, there's so many Days Gone. They hated Days Gone. I love Days Gone. There's so many examples of games that I just love that if I listened to the media, I wouldn't have played those games. Not everybody, but a lot of them just seem like activists instead of game critics now. So that's why I want to be able to play the games myself. And there's just something about a developer being so confident in a game that they're willing to just let us try it out, letting the game speak for themselves. And when you give the player the freedom to make their own buying decisions through the experience of playing the demos, it's much more likely that they're going to support your game by pre-ordering or buying it at launch. And it's much more likely that when they do play your game, they will like it because they played the demo and they liked it. It's a win-win situation. How many times have you been browsing the digital store for a new game and come across something that looks really interesting, but it isn't quite enough to take a chance for spending $60 or $70? Well, that's where these game demos can come in. They can push the people that are on the fence over the edge. And especially when you see companies like Capcom that are all in on demos, having record profits over the past couple years, it just seems like a smart, proven marketing strategy that everyone should be using. When you look at indie games, sure, there's a lot of demos, but what I want to see is demos for these full price $60 and $70 games. I mean, when my kids grow up and they start wanting games, I'm going to be like, go play some demos, you know? Figure out which ones you actually like. And then I'd be way more willing to spend my money because they've actually done the research, played the game, and they liked it. And that, my friends, is why I believe video game demos are not only awesome, but I think they should be the standard going forward. If you guys stuck around this long, thank you so much. This project took me forever. I had to play so many games, so many crappy games too, and I just hope it turned out good for you guys. But with that said, thanks again for watching, and until next time. Stay in the light, my friends. Later.
Did you forget to subscribe or something?